This is Jake Seeley, and I'm the blown ACL that ruins your football season.
Good news, everyone! Let's get dangerous!
This is so cool!
I know!
It feels so right! It's Jake Seeley.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Nice try, Moonman! Pretending not to know! Earth's greatest mastermind! You just made the list!
I thought you said that was a myth.
Just because it's a myth doesn't mean it's not true.
If you all blindly follow my plan, we may have a chance!
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
Game on, you Ducks. Sorry for the late one, but there was a lot of injury news that we had to wait for Week 7. And yeah, it's Week 7. We're already at that point. And let's real quickly recap tight end night football instead of Thursday night football with the insanity that was and frustration that it was of the touchdowns helping nobody constantly again and again and again. But not so much going to talk about. Shout out to my boy Michael Florio for calling the 3 different tight end touchdowns for the Steelers. It was a bold call, but hey, victory lap the hell out of that, brother. I don't know why I called him brother. He's like a little brother to me, but I don't ever say brother. Anyway, good side of things. Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers played really well, but the best part about it is Joe Flacco targeted Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins 70% of the time after we were excited about the 50% mark in his first game. If he's going to be doing that, Ja'Marr Chase is back, not only back, but inside the top 5, potentially pushing back into the conversation as 1, 2, or 3. And T. Higgins is going to be back into the wide receiver 2 conversation. Looked really bursty on that touchdown, by the way. On the Steelers side, actually, real quickly, Chase Brown, best game of the season, first time over 100 yards. Worth noting, though, still 65-35 split between him and Samaje Perine. And yes, Chase Brown got basically all of the passing game opportunities, even though Samaje Perine was out there on more passing downs and third downs. So really, it's a good sign for Chase Brown, but I want to go crazy yet to be able to just trust him as a top 15 option yet. I still wanted to see more, especially with that split. Definitely not going to be seeing bell cow workload. And again, that was not even off 15, 20 touches in that game. On the Warren side, his best game and of his career, a 20-5 split in the touches over Gainwell. That was really nice to see. The 13-12 split was why we were concerned from the game prior. I do think it'd probably be more in the 16-18 to 8-10 touch split going forward, which is good for Jaylen Warren, keeping it as an RB2. Always a risk that Gainwell could get a rushing touchdown stolen or stealing it from Jaylen Warren. All that being said, positive all around, really. It's just temper some of the positivity. All right, let's talk about injuries and things going into Week 7. Kyler Murray, doubtful. I mean, I know they're saying questionable, but I'm saying doubtful. I would expect Jacoby Brissett to be out there for quarterback situations. Carson Wentz is starting for the Vikings. No J.J. McCarthy. He's the emergency quarterback, to give you an idea there. Did I just say idea? Freaking jersey spilling over from the old days? Anyway, to give you an idea there, no Day Mercado for the Cardinals to go back to them, and we're going to have a wide receiver one for the Cardinals too, which is just the split that we expect with Michael Carter and Zonovan Knight. As people asked in the waivers, the reason I have Michael Carter slightly ahead is because he's out there in a 2-minute drill, negative game script, pass catching option. Yes, Bam Knight can steal the rushing touchdowns, similar to Kenneth Gainwell, but similar to that situation. I do expect Carter to be more valuable, especially against the Packers. I'm not trying to start either, but that's why I have Carter. I think we'll see more Knight if they're game neutral or with the lead, and I especially don't expect that against the Packers. Chuba Hubbard is back. It is the giant question everybody has for Week 7. Dave Canales was very coy in his answer. I do think, you know what? They have the contract. They love Chuba Hubbard. You don't want to see somebody get Wally pipped. At the same time, you can't deny what Rico Dowdle has been doing. So what does that mean? It means they're both risky. But I compared this earlier to the Seahawks situation with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. But I would say the better version of it, I would not say quite Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman back in the glory days, that basically 1.5 years with the Falcons. But somewhere in between. Like, they're not both going to be top 15 options, but they're not as risky as the Seahawks. So they'll kind of be in that RB2 range, RB2-3 range, and both worth starting, and it could skew either way. That's the risk. There is going to be a low floor depending on how either goes, because maybe Chuba Hubbard isn't 100%. They just want to get him back. On the wide receivers, there are a lot. as mentioned with the Cardinals, we're back. Marvin Harrison's good to go. He's back into the ranks. Wide receiver 2/3 range. Zay Jones is questionable. Zay Jones was more of an interest if there was no Marvin Harrison. It's just Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride, as always. DJ Moore is good to go. A lot of people asked about the Luther Burden ranking, and I spelled it out and said that was with no DJ Moore. Well, Luther Burden's basically back to way down the list because DJ Moore is going to slide in as a wide receiver 3. Darnell Mooney, likely to play for the Falcons. Not that I'm chasing Darnell Mooney any more than a wide receiver 4, boomer bust. But it's just interesting on the additional part of that being that Ray McCloud was sent home and not with the team. That's something just to, again, more of the funneling of we know Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, and of course, a billion targets for Drake London. Jalen Coker is back for the Panthers as well, coming back with Chuba Hubbard. I'm not looking to start Coker, but something to stash and worth monitoring because Xavier Legette's been inconsistent and opening the door to what Coker could potentially step in as the number 2. Again, just worth watching. No Calvin Ridley, not surprising. Josh Downs, concussion, out. Terry McLaurin, out. Garrett Wilson, out. They call him doubtful. He's out. Debo Smith, speaking of Terry McLaurin, Debo Samuel, holy crap. I'm ready for the weekend. You guys ready for the weekend? The tight end nonsense on Thursday Night Football broke me, apparently. Anyway, Debo Samuel is questionable. They said the heel is aggressive, and, so I think that Debo's going to play through it, but if Terry McLaurin was out there, I'd have Debo Samuel as like a wide receiver 2/3, but because there is no Terry, I'm going to have him as a wide receiver 2, but just as we saw last week, it's a super low floor. The ceiling is top 10. The floor is almost non-existent, so just understand that risk. Assuming he plays, it sounds like he will, but it sounds like he's really playing through some pain. Similar to a 49ers wide receiver we'll talk about in a little bit. Quentin Johnston is back for the Chargers. I like him as a buy low. I think he'll get back into the wide receiver 2 conversation. Hurt Ladd McConkey a little bit, but I think now we're going to see more of a flux between Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen every single week. One of them is probably going to take a back seat unless there's a game where Justin Herbert throws for 300 touchdowns, 300 yards. I told you I'm broken. 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. But outside of that, there's going to be somebody that probably takes a back seat any given week. I don't think Johnston's likely to see too many games where he's unusable, especially because of the touchdown upside. Packers, similar comparison for there, but better wide receivers with the Chargers, just the Packers situation being the who do you trust any given week. Well, at least it's a little clear this week because Christian Watson is not coming back yet, which means Matthew Golden moved way up the ranks. So you have Matthew Golden and Romeo Doubs because Dontavian Wicks is questionable, even if he's out there playing through an injury. We got Golden and Doubs very funneled down, finally, at least for 1 week, target share for the Packers, and Tucker Kraft is still in the mix, top 5 tight end. And Mike Evans is expected to play. Friday was supposed to be a day where he was rested, even coming back from practices. Watch on Saturday. If Mike Evans is out there, he is a risky wide receiver 2, because I've talked about this before. If Mike Evans was coming back and Ibuka hadn't gotten hurt, we'd be like, okay, cool, fire things up. Like Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard doesn't need to come back because Rico Dowdle's been doing great, so they don't need him. But he's back, so he's probably healthy. Mike Evans is a little bit different because we don't know if this is, hey, we can't roll out there with the 2 Johnsons and Sterling Shepard. We need Mike back. So all that being said, he has the ceiling to be a wide receiver 1, but we have to understand there's some risk of how healthy he is. And I'm not really moving my Cade Otton ranks because this more affects the Sterling Shepard and Tez Johnson and Cameron Johnson rankings, as in I really wouldn't use any of those if Mike Evans is out there. And then speaking of those 49ers, pause because this is a long list. Mac Jones is in. That's clear. Ricky Pearsall is out. That's also clear, which is a big thumbs up with Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne. But George Kittle is back, so ding him a little bit. And here's the interesting one. Juwan Jennings is off the injury report. I don't know how, because Jennings just said last week after the game, which he should have been a decoy. Well, I wish we would have known that he was going to be a decoy. With 5 broken ribs and all the ankle injuries in the world, somehow has a high and a low ankle sprain. I don't know if it was hyperbole, is exaggerating, whatever it might be, but I don't know how he's off the injury report with all of that. Jennings is going to be a wide receiver 4 for me. He definitively has top 25 upside, as we've seen, if healthy, even with Kendrick Bourne and George Kittle and Mac Jones. But I don't know how you can trust him, which just means he's going to go off for 2 touchdowns. And then finally, speaking of tight ends, as I said, Kittle, you play him. It's a bad matchup for him. The tight ends just really struggle in this matchup. But all that being said, you're still playing George Kittle. He's going to be a top 5 tight end because he's George Kittle. But David Njoku's out, which means Harold Fannin is a nice play if you need one as a top 10 tight end. So we'll be back Sunday morning halftime, normally, like I said, 11 o'clock, but halftime for the Discord during the London game. We finally get a reprieve after this week for no more London games, but we do have the double Monday night, and one is at 10 o'clock. Thank you very much, NFL, for us East Coast people. Can you tell I'm happy about having to stay up till 1:30 in the morning again? Nope.